Hello, we do education, and usually we teach you about the casinos and the collectibles. Today we're going to teach you something different, which is how to use your scanners and cameras to get the best results for whatever you want to do. If you want to submit the items to the chip guide, you have a personal website, you want to make a photo book, or whatever you want to do. And the thing is, I really didn't have any training in this, and I started playing with it, and I found out how easy it was to do, and I thought if I could do it, all you guys could do it too. So by the end of the hour, you'll know what you need to do. It takes some experience to get good at it, and I've done thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these things. So it becomes very routine, but do 5, do 10, you do by 20, you won't even be thinking about it, you'll be a pro. Okay, so it takes some experience, but it doesn't take a lot of skill, it doesn't take a lot of equipment, and I'm gonna get going. Any questions? By the way, I like these sessions to be interactive. If I miss something and you have a question, ask it, because if you don't know it, then most of the other people probably have the same question. So the goal is to get everybody on board here with chip scanning, and please stop me and ask questions, and we'll have some fun and get this done. You'll all be pros. By the way, you don't need to really take notes, because I have a specific set of instructions that I'm going to teach you, and at the end, you get a copy of this, okay? And it's very detailed, and you'll be able to follow along with the instructions and use the program to do your scanning. Okay? So let's get going. Question?
Real quick, do you have the forward circle on?
Absolutely.
And it's on that sheet?
It's on the sheet. It tells you how to do the free download to get it. It's free software. And not only is it free, it's the best one that I've found to use, including I have Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop for that, it's too difficult. I use this one because it's easier. I found one that's just perfect for doing chips, for doing circle cups. Yes, sir? Excuse me? It does not work with Mac, but I have some Mac ideas. Okay, question was about the software that we're going to use. And I'm going to get into it. I found a program called Photoscape. It's what's called, not freeware. It is free, but there's another name for it. And not even shareware. Not supportware. I'll think about it, but it's things like professional software. Linux is in this category, and open source. So people write the software, they make it open source, which means they own it, but they're giving everybody the ability to use it for free. Okay, so this is open source software. You download it for free, and it does just a perfect job for editing chips and other collectible items. Okay, it does work only on Windows, but I will cover some options for Mac as well. There's another open source program called GIMP that works with Macintosh software. So, here's a nice chip, one of my favorites, and I just wanted to show you the kind of results you can get. The colors in here, it looks much better on my screen. It's a little bit too dark over here. And usually I'm up and around, but this is, I've got to show you what I'm doing, and you got to follow the screen, so you'll be just seeing in the back of I still have some here. Okay, so what do you need? And actually for the beginning I could be up. You need a scanner. Scanners are not expensive these days. You could get a great photo scanner. There are all kinds of scanners. You want to get a photo scanner for around $100. And the manufacturers even sell refurb items, meaning somebody got it, they opened the box, there was a scratch on it, they didn't like this one compared to their other one, they returned it. It goes back to the manufacturer, they sell it on the website, so a $100 scanner might be $50 from the manufacturer on the website. You get a real inexpensive scanner. We all have computers, we have internet access, and then you need to download the free software. So we're talking about an investment of $100 or so, and you can get professional results. Peter?
Charles, I actually believe the scanner has to have what they call the
CCD.
Yes.
There's CCD and there's also now LED scanners. So there is
You
a,
need one or the other because the hot pink does not come through unless it's a CC.
right, we're gonna get more into that. We're gonna get more into those details. So, scanners, Exxon scanners for around $100. You want to look for one that has at least 4800 dpi resolution, native. People buy these popular all-in-one scanners, which are scanners and printers. If you get one of those, they're really made for copying paper. And they don't tend to give great results on photos and chips. So if you want one that's good enough to print and scan stuff good, it's going to be a lot more expensive than $100. So for this purpose, I would kind of stay away from an all-in-one, unless you get a really good one. Yeah, but it's not going to give great results typically for chips. And then this is the one that I use. It's an older one called the Epson 4490, and the newer version is a V500. And Larry Hollova actually has one at his table inside on the show floor. It looks just like this, it's just a newer version. And again, it's around $100. Now, I'm also a photographer. And when I started getting into digital photography, I thought the best results can be gotten with a digital camera as opposed to a scanner. And that is true, but you need a lot of equipment to get better results than a scanner. And what I use is, I have a Nikon D90 camera. It's about a $1,000 camera. I've got a macro lens that's about a $300 or $400 lens that lets you take very close up, full-size images of a chip. And then I have the device next to it that looks like an enlarger. It's called a copy stand. And the camera gets mounted on the arm, and it points directly to the bed, and it gives me a perfect image of what's on the bed of the camera, of the copy stand. So the camera goes up here, the chip goes down here, and it's pointed directly level to the surface, and it gives me an image with no distortion. And then I have a couple of lamps that go on either side to take away the shadows, and that gives me the best results. So when I make a personal chip, and I'm using the inlay off a real chip, this is how I capture the inlay. And I get a big version of it. I can add text and make changes that I want, but this is how I get great results. Okay, now, a lot of times you'll find you're at a casino, you had a good roll on the craps table, and they're handing you a $500 or $1,000 chip. And you're going, I bet that's not in the chip guide. I'd like to take a picture of it. And you get out your phone, and you're not going to get results like this. But there is a way to do it, and I'll give you some tips for doing that.
Does it matter what kind of lights you use? Does it change the color of the chip? Is it important to use? I know with film, it is important to use.
So if you look at these bulbs, they're called compact fluorescent light bulbs, and they're daylight balanced. Daylight is what your camera expects, okay? If you would take a picture of that chip sitting over here, fluorescent lights has a different color temperature than daylight. So your camera's not going to get the colors right, okay? So you're exactly right. So I actually use a lamp that's daylight color balanced. And it's hard to explain it, but these digital cameras are very, very smart. And they try and figure things out for you. They do scene recognition and face recognition and lighting recognition, so they give you true colors. But they don't always get it right because nobody's programming a camera to take pictures of chips. You know, people don't do that. They take pictures of scenery and people. So that's what they are looking for when they do their adjustments. Okay. Yes?
You have a metal insert in the chip. Why does it come out blurry with digital? Is there a trick to taking it?
Your camera may get fooled by reflection coming off the metal.
What would you use to help it?
Okay, I'll explain that. When you take a picture, you don't want direct sunlight. It creates harsh tones on the picture. And you'll get some areas that are very bright and other areas that are very dark. The camera wants a certain amount of light for the whole frame of the picture. Okay, so if it gets very bright in one area, it gives it enough light, and the other areas are dark. So when you take a picture, you want it to be in indirect sunlight, so near a window or in shaded areas. If there's direct sunlight coming down to it or a direct light source coming down on it, you're going to get some areas bright, some areas dark. Your autofocus on the camera is not going to work right in what's called a high contrast situation. So it's filtered daylight that you want. Okay?
Charles, a lot of times you don't even need a flash. A lot of times, if you ever notice mine on the chipboard, I take my hand, I take my camera, I shoot like this, a lot of times the pictures go good.
Never use a flash.
Yeah, I was gonna say, flash will screw you up. The digital camera, it should, like you said, it should read that thing fine and, you know, do it with the flash and do it without the flash, see what you come up with.
Right, and it's an excellent point. With digital, it doesn't cost you anything to take a picture. Take a picture, see the results, and then something was wrong, try it to correct it, and you can keep on doing it until you get it right. Doesn't cost you anything. You could scan through glass, you could scan through the Mylar on a holder, you could scan through a lot of clear stuff and still get very good results. For the best results, you'll want to remove it though from its holder. And you know, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. A lot of this is covered, but you're asking excellent questions. So if you only have your smartphone camera and you want to take the picture of that $500 or $1,000 chip you walked off the craps table with, I would suggest finding a flat surface in the shade, indirect sunlight, try and have a solid colored background underneath it. It makes it easier for the camera to get good results. Take it, position the camera directly above. If you're on the side, you're going to get an oval, an egg-shaped result and not a circular result. Now, if we have some time at the end, I could take ovals and show you how to make them into circles again. But you want to get the best results the first time. It gives the best images. So use natural light, filtered light, and no flash. Okay? And like you suggested, take a shot, see the results, and then do something to get a little closer, a little farther away, and until you're happy with the results. Keep trying. So for the rest of this, then, we're going to focus though on scanning, because that's what we're going to do most of the time. Requirements for the computer, it could be Windows or it could be Macintosh, and all it has to do is have internet access and support your scanner. If you've got a laptop, like I do, don't use the touchpad or whatever. It's going to be a lot easier if you have a mouse. So if you get a mouse for $10 that's got a what do you call it, wireless connection to the laptop, you'll be much happier using that than using the touchpad. Image editing software, Photoscape. Open source software, the owners wrote it with the idea of making it free. They might suggest a donation if you like the software after you use it. I suggest going to the CNET website, Google in Photoscape and CNET, and then do the download from there. Okay? And those instructions are on the sheet, so you don't have to make a note of it. Okay? And like I said, I've used several different programs, and I'll show you why this is the best one. It makes it easy. Scanning setup. Your scanners have intelligence in it. They don't just take a picture. They want to take the best picture. But they're not programmed to understand we're taking pictures of chips. So they might think I'm taking a picture of a text page and give you crappy results for a chip. So I suggest turn off all the smartness in the scanner. In this software, it's called professional mode. Up at the top, there's a little drop down, and I select professional mode, which says, I know what I'm doing, don't do anything for me. Don't clip off the edges, don't do color correction, don't do anything, just take the picture without any intelligence. I get this question the most often. What resolution should I scan at? The higher the resolution, the better the results, the bigger the file. We want 200 minimum DPI, that's dots per inch, and we would suggest 300 DPI. Okay? With the larger the file, the easier it is to edit it. Okay? And when we're through, we move it down to the size that we need it. But while we're working on it, the larger the image is, the easier it is to work on that image. And you'll see why. Because when we're cropping, if you have to crop a small thing, it's hard. If you've got a big thing, it's easier. And then at the end, you could shrink it down to the size it needs to be. Okay? So larger is better. I suggest 300 DPI. I don't know if I want to cover image math. It's kind of confusing, but what I will say is, if you've got a big image, when you make it smaller, it kind of intensifies the colors, makes text sharper, it makes the whole image look a little bit better by taking something big and making it small. You can't do it the other way around. If you have something that's small and you make it big, colors get washed out, text becomes blurry, and you get an inferior result. And when people submit stuff that's too small for the chip guide, they get a note back that says, thanks, we appreciate it, but we can't use it because it's not going to look good on the chip guide. Could you please rescan it at 300 DPI, and then we'll put it in. Okay, so smaller good, bigger bad. Yes, Sheldon?
I probably have one of the dumber questions to ask you. Can you relate pixels to DPI in terms of, I know
Sure.
but I'm sure there's some people in the room that know that eBay is now, as of July 1st, if you're under a certain number of pixel width, they're going to not allow your pictures on eBay anymore.
Okay.
So I scan at 200 to 300 DPI, but that doesn't necessarily give me 500 pixels across.
Right. What's the relationship between pixels and DPI? So, I take a picture, and it's a rectangle, right? And I scanned it at a certain resolution, let's say we scanned it at 100 DPI. So 100 DPI means if I have let's make it easy, a 3x5 card that we scanned, the 5 will be 500 pixels, it will be 300 by 500 pixels, okay? That's the size of the image, okay? DPI is dots per inch, okay? So we scan something that's 3x5, it'll be 300 by 500. Dots per inch is how many pixels are compressed into an inch on the device that I'm showing it on. Screens have a resolution of 72 dots per inch, okay, in most screens. So your 500 will be divided by 72 and no longer be 5 inches, it'll be 7 inches or whatever. So what is the device you're showing it on, printer, the screen, what's the resolution? How does it pack those pixels onto the screen or when it prints? When you're printing, they want 300 dots per inch to get good results. When you're showing something on the screen, you want at least 72 dots per inch. We're doing much higher than 72 dots per inch to get good results, okay? Does that kind of make sense? One is, how big is it? And then the other is, that's the pixels, and then how does it show on the screen or on the printer?
So the pixels would be more of the size of it, and the DPI would be the clarity of it?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So, now you've got your scanner, you've got your whole setup, we're ready to scan, what do? First suggest that if you've got a chip that's old and dirty and worn, when you scan it, it's going to look old and dirty and worn. There's not going to be any magic there. You can't really fix that up. So if it's dirty, clean it before you scan it. Take a couple extra minutes to get some good results. If it's worn and it's a common chip, maybe you don't even want to scan it. You know, that's not what we want. If it's a really, really rare chip and there are only a few of them around, you know, that's the best we have, so we'll use it, okay? But think about it before you scan it. You know, make a decision, is this something I want to scan or not? What I do to help the scanner give good results is I take a 3.5 inch by 5 inch index card. With a black magic marker, I make a border around the card. I take the chip, put it on the scanner bed about an inch from the corner, an inch from the top, and an inch from the side, and then I put that card with the black frame face down, and that fools the scanner into thinking I got something bigger, so it doesn't cut off the edge of the chips. That's another bugaboo that I get. I get so many submissions where part of the chip is not there because they put the chip right into the corner and the scanner chopped off a side of the chip. So that eliminates that problem. And scanners, for whatever reason, try to orient what they're seeing. So if there's a piece of paper, they think, maybe you didn't put it straight into the corner, it was at an angle a little bit, so I'm going to straighten it for you. With chips, it always tries to, it can't figure out what straight is, so it gives you very erratic results. That little frame now has something that it can know is horizontal, and it won't do that for you, usually. Okay, that's why I do that. Remove, if it's in a holder, remove the holder, you'll get better results. You can get good results if it's in a Mylar flip, but what's going to happen, and I've learned this over experience, is where the flip hits the edge of the chip and goes down like this a little bit, when when the scanner arm goes by, it's going to have some light feedback, and you'll get a little flash of light at that point. So, if you want better results, take it out of the flip. So, after you do this, this is the results you're going to get. You see the card with the border and the chip over there. And what we're going to teach you to do now is how to get it to look like that. Okay? And it takes me 30 seconds to a minute to go from one to the other, to do the editing. So after you've done 20 or so and you're a pro at it, it comes just like that. Okay. We did 100,000 of these things. You know? So, image editing. I always do it in this order. If the image needs some color correction, after it's been scanned, that's the first thing that I do. And I'm not going to go into that in detail. That's going to be chip scanning 102. Okay? We're going to focus on, because most of the time the color is pretty good. The first thing I want to do is level off the chip, make sure that it's rotated correctly. After I do that, I'm going to do the crop. And after I do that, I'm going to make it into the right size. So it's always align, crop, and resize in that order. Align, crop, and resize. And when I do image correction, I don't try and correct the colors. That's an advanced topic, and I can never figure out how to do it right. I generally find that it might be too bright or too dark, and I just change the lighting on it, not the color. And with Photoshop, you can do some amazing things, and if we have time at the end, I'll show you how to take an oval and make it into a circle. Alignment. You've got help on doing this. When we do the alignment, you'll see there are grid lines, and if you could find something that's horizontal or vertical, you could line them up to the grid lines and get pretty good results. But it's sort of something that takes some experience to get right. Sometimes you'll see a chip that doesn't have any horizontal or vertical reference. It'll be the Gold Club, and it will be $1 written in text in a circle at the bottom. And then it's just, you've got to eyeball it to get the good results, okay? But most chips, maybe 95%, have something, a reference to help you align it correctly. And so the first thing I'm doing when I get to that point, what's my alignment point? Is there something this way? It could be there's a symmetrical, something symmetrical about it, where it's the same thing on this side and this side, and then I just have to level it off. It could be great. Sometimes it's a picture of the hotel with a straight line at the bottom. That's the best, that's the perfect thing. So you just have to notice where are my alignment points, things I could use to get that right. And one thing that I've noticed is, when you do get it right, things seem to get into focus and look clearer. I call it alignment pop. So as you're rotating it, and we're going to have a slide bar to do it, you look for that point where the text all of a sudden becomes sharper. So if you don't have that vertical or horizontal reference, you get this alignment pop, and that will help you. The cropping that we have with this program, it has a circle crop and it has a rectangular crop. And this program has the best feature for doing cropping. It not only allows you to do an easy crop, but it tells you what the dimensions of the crop are before you actually do the crop. That's where this is better than Photoshop. Photoshop, you have to do the crop, then check to see if you're doing a chip, the height should equal the length to make it perfectly round. Photoshop won't tell you that until after you do the crop. This program tells you it before, so you could always get a perfectly round circle, okay? And sometimes, when you do your scan, and you know that you've lined it up perfectly, height is not going to equal width. Why? Because you have a scanner arm moving across, and it's going to introduce a little distortion. The distortion is usually within 1%, and people can't see 1% of distortion. So I'm going to give you a weight when I do this to show you how to fix it. But 1% or less of distortion is okay. So if you do your crop and it comes out to be 310 pixels this way and 312 pixels that way, 2 over 300 is less than 1%, that's okay. And I'll show you that when I do the demo. Peter?
For us Mac users, does GIMP do circle crop? Does anything do?
Oh, yes, there are others that do circle crops, but they're not as easy as this.
No, I understand, but I have no choice. Mine are all mine.
You could always get a Windows machine.
Someone told me that yesterday. Sorry.
Okay.
30 seconds.
What, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
GIMP that he was telling
Oh,
you
the
about.
GIMP works.
The new one is perfect, because I do all Mac.
okay. So we have another Mac guy in the room. There's always one or two. And you're saying that the new version of GIMP will give you a similar feature.
And it has, what you were saying with the brightness and contrast, they're just slider colors. They're getting it pretty precise. When it comes out a little dark, and you just go like this, and it's straight, and you don't quite get it.
Okay, let's move along. On the resizing, I mentioned 1% is okay, and I'll show you how to fix that. And just basically, we show things 1.5 times their original size on the chip guide. A chip is 1 5/8 inch. That turns out to be 160 or so pixels, and we show 240 by 240. It just makes it easy. That's what we found, a reasonable size to look at the chip and see all the details and not yet make the image too large so the web pages take forever to load. Okay? And those sizes over there, all that information is on the information sheet, so you don't have to copy that down. And then finally, save the image. Now, remember that I said screens are 72 dots per inch? If you took 72 dots per inch and 240 by 240 and whatever, and did the math, what you'd come out to is an optimal size for the image. Basically, what I'm explaining is, when we made it down to 240 by 240, what's the easy way to explain this? That image would be about 60K in size after we finished editing it. And it would be at a dots per inch, let's say we scanned it at 300 dots per inch, it would be much larger. There'd be more information in that file than you could show on a screen. So we set, there's an image quality setting there. If you set it at 85%, it's about 100 dpi. It makes the image about 25% of the full-size image. It's down to about 15K instead of about 60K. And there's no difference in the image when you're looking at it on the screen because there's still more information than the screen can show. It's hard to believe you could take a file that's of a certain quality at 60K, reduce it to 15K, and not lose any quality. But if we have time, I'll show you that. I'm just saying, so when you save the file, there's an image quality setting, move it down to 85%. It'll make the file smaller, it will not compromise the quality, it'll make pages load faster and so forth. Okay, if you're printing, you don't want to do that. If you were printing a catalog, you want 300 dots per inch. Okay, it's different than a screen. So, this is easy to do, it's not expensive, and what I'd like to do now is show you how I do it. Okay, now you see the back of my head. Oh, one last thing. If you get good at this, and you do a submission, and the submission, the image is ready to go right on the chip guide without any editing on our part, you get this certified chip guide submitter certificate. I let all the administrators know that you're certified, and then your images get priority, because it's going to take us about 30 seconds to get that image up onto the chip guide, as opposed to 2 minutes for everybody else. So let's go to the software. This is Photoscape, and this is an image I got off the internet this morning. Okay? And what we want to do is show you how we get that to something we can use. I'm going to make it a little larger here. There's this button that expands the view of it. So we see it needs to be rotated. It's a little bit dark, so I'll show you some of the adjustments I would make to make it a little brighter. And I just made it a little bit brighter. I hit OK. What I'm trying to do is make it look realistic, not to make it look artificial. So I just made it a little bit brighter, and I think if I undo it, this is what it looked like before. If I redo it, I think that's the way it really should look. So I'm going to leave it like that. This is the rotate button. And I can rotate it like this. And what I'm looking for here, the only reference that I have is this line, and I picked the bad one because it's small. But I can rotate this until I see, and when I get it like this, I'm going to say all of a sudden this text became clearer to me. Watch it. That's about it. It had that alignment pop that I call. So there it is. Now I want to crop. And I say I want to crop a circle. And I'm going to do this over again. So just watch the first time. The second time I'm going to go into more detail about what I'm doing. I put the mouse at the top, I press down and pull it to the bottom. I do that with the side anchors. And now I pretty much have it. Now I see a little bit of darkness over here, so I went too far. I'll move that up a little bit, and now it looks like I have it. So look over here. It shows me the width and the height before I've made the crop. Photoshop doesn't do that. So I can make an adjustment without having to start over. And when I look at this, and I look at where the crop hits these inserts, they all look good. So I think I'm dealing with 1 pixel of distortion here, and I'm just going to leave it this way. So I'm hit crop, and now I have this. It looks clear and whatever. And the last thing I want to do is the resizing, and there's a resizing button. And if this was larger than 240 by 240, I would make it smaller. but I'm not gonna make it bigger. I'm just going to change it to 168 by 168. And now it's a perfect circle. I've removed that distortion. I'll show you what would happen if I made it larger. I'll get to that in a second, okay? If I make it larger, I've kind of got some blurriness here. But there is a trick, there's a sharpening button here. I'm kind of getting into advanced stuff. No, that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was sharpening, and it has a level from 1 to 13. If I do sharpening 2, I think I got back the blurriness into sharpness, and I might want to use this. But if it was larger and I made it to this size, I would get better results. So now I do the save, and here is the image quality. And I have it set to 85%. And it's going to give me a file that's 13K in size. If I had it full size, it'd be 42K. So that's why I do this. And I can save them at both full size and 85%. And on the screen, you wouldn't see a difference. If I printed it, the bigger one would look better. But for screen purposes, that's just the way we want it, and that's it. Okay? I wish I had a larger one. I'll tell you what, I don't want to do that one. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah, you can save it as a joke. You know, I didn't check the size of these images when I saved them. I want to get something that's bigger. Oh, I know what I can do. I've been editing, let's see, plaques, sample plaques from Chifco. We have all of their sample plaques donated to the club. They're in here.
Question before you switch.
Sure, just give me a second though. Well, that's gonna take me some time too. I wish I had something better to work on. I thought I did a good job, but I didn't check the size. And I'm not on the internet now, so I can't get it from there. And all these there. I'll tell you what I'll do. I have that, okay. I'll show you this image. Here's an image that I got off the internet that is well distorted. Okay? And I can open this image with Photoshop. Hopefully. Come up. Okay. And now I'll show you filter, correct camera distortion, and I can take this and tilt it. It needed to be tilted a little bit that way, a little bit that way. You see how it's a little bit curved at the edges? Do that. Still needs a little bit more over here. And I almost have a square. And that's some of the amazing things you can do with an image. And you can do that, make a circle into an oval into a circle, and so forth. But I really don't want to spend time on that. I want to spend time. Let me do another chip, even though it's a small image. We did this one. Let's do this one. That is a little bit bigger. So again, I think this is too dark. brighten it a little bit more. That looks too bright, so I'll bring it back over there. And this is one of those things where it was not even direct lighting. It's too light on the top and a little too dark on the bottom, but that's what we have. And that's what we have to deal with. But on the leveling of this, I have a nice straight line over here. So I can use that to get a good orientation. And fortunately, this grid line matches right up to this top line over here, so I know that I'm level over there. So, okay. And then I want to do the crop. Let's make it larger. Since it's almost at the borders, I'll just take the image into that and move down. I always start at the top, go to the bottom, go to the sides. Check this, and now look. Am I really off by 5? And I see, okay, there's a little darkness over there. Move it in a couple. Did I see a little darkness over there? Move it in. And now I'm off by 2. And let me just move it out here now. Darkness, darkness, shadows. That, you know, and if I look at this, I can see this was taken with a camera, not a scanner, because this is much bigger than it is over here on the top. I lost it by doing an exit click. So I just have to live with that. So this is not going to be a great scan, but sometimes you just have to deal with what you have. And we're off by 4 again. This is why some things take time. So crop, and then I want to resize. I'm not going to make it bigger. And now we're kind of back to a circle. But if you look at it, you can see the border over here is bigger than the border over here. And that's, you know, not much you can do about that. And if I will resize it to make it big enough for the chip guide, 240 by 240, how would that look? Again, it kind of got blurry. I might sharpen it, see what it looks like sharpened. Looks a little better. Undo, redo, 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 undo, redo. Oops. So there we go. That's the best I'm going to get with this image, and then I go back and do the save. And if I wanted to save it with a different name, I would hit Save As and change the name over here. And save 85%. And that's how we do it. And just over and over again. But the thing that's really great about this program is when you're doing the cropping, which is the hardest part to get correct, it tells you before you do the crop what the dimension's going to be, which is different than Photoshop or any of the other ones. Okay? So, we have 7 minutes left. Let's see if I've got something else that we could work on. I showed you how we could go from something that looks like this to something that looks like this using Photoshop. And you don't get perfect results, but you get decent results. In this, it doesn't have those features in it. For that, I use the Photoshop elements. Okay. I'll just go through one more. This looks like it's aligned pretty good. It might be a ½ a degree off. So I'm going to fix that a little bit. Okay. Next we do the crop. I like to do it this way. If the image is taking up the item is taking up the whole, almost the whole image. Now, when I said it's easier to work on things with higher resolution and then make it smaller, here's one of the places where this is true. You see the edges here? They're kind of blurry. It makes it harder to figure out exactly where you want to move the crop line. Should it be here or whatever? If you have a big item, those edge lines are going to be sharp, and it makes it much easier to do the cropping. Sides, one more, make sure you get rid of too much. And do the other side. And that looks pretty good, there's a little black. I always check then for the edges to see for blackness or shadows. And that looks pretty good, and then I check over here, I'm off by one. If I'm off, then I look to see, maybe this can move down one. No, it can't. It gets black. So that's it. I do the crop, do the resize, and now I've got a round chip. And let's see if I make it bigger, which again, I'm sorry I didn't have something big that I can make smaller. I didn't check that. It kind of got blurry, and then I can try sharpening it. And now it kind of looks a little bit artificial. I don't like that. Undo, it looks natural. Redo, it looks a little bit artificial on the sides. I don't like those results, so I'm not going to use. Sharpening doesn't always work and give you good results. Maybe if I sharpen less, I still don't like it.
What don't you like about it, Charles?
It just doesn't look natural. It's kind of ragged edges on it or whatever, at least to my eye. Again, I do thousands and thousands and thousands of these. So I want it to look natural. I want it to look like the chip actually looks. I don't want to make it look better.
It is subjective.
Yeah.
The square you have around it is the same color as the chip in this case, and a couple chips back, the insert was white, and you can't differentiate, you can't see the edge of the chip.
Yes. There is no circular JPEG format. When you do the crop, it has to fill in the part you cropped away with some other color. And you can actually make it different colors other than white. We always use white.
Can you change, you're saying you can change the color of your square with chip?
Yep.
How do you do that?
Show us,
What doesn't make the chip?
When you have a round, if you don't have a round crop, you don't have this little box over here. See how it's white in the box?
Yeah.
You drag that down and say, I want yellow instead of white. Okay? So now I'm gonna come over here and do a crop.
Well, that looks better already. Yeah.
That's worse.
I like that.
I don't like that at all. I used to-
I would probably want to use a light shade of gray
Right.
rather than yellow. It would show you where the edge of, yeah. You know what? I don't know why I never thought of that, but that's an excellent idea. Thank you. Okay?
But I really think it's grayscale. Yeah.
I don't want it to be yellow. I would
Oh, show
want
us
it to
gray.
be more like this.
White chip. That's more like it.
Well, it's better than white.
It's better than white. All right, so there's going to be an email to all the admins. Now, if you're cropping something that's white,
Yeah.
a chip that's white, make it a gray background. It'll look better.
It's more pleasant.
Progress. George.
If we copy 300 by 300, do you downgrade it?
Yes.
Or you do, okay.
We always go back to 240 by 240. The one exception is sometimes people send us a chip that is exceptionally rare and is in good condition. And then we will make it 450 by 450. Because at 450 by 450, you could really see all the details of it. It'll show great on the screen. And any place there's a picture on the chip guide, if the image is bigger than the slot that it fits into when we show it, you could click on the image and see the full size image. Do you guys know that?
No.
No? Anytime there's an image on the chip guide that's bigger than the square that it's put into, click on, well, that's full size. See, this one you seeing the full size? This one, it's bigger. When you hold the mouse over it, you get a little message there, and you enlarge picture, click on it, and you see the full size. And that's any picture, any place on the chip guide.
Is there a template like this we can scan or chips that you put like that?
Excuse me?
Is there a template like the chip guide that we can scan our chips and make it look just like we just have?
I'm not getting that question.
Right, like camera with the chips, how you got yours and all square and make it look just like that. How do I get to that point?
That's a advanced programming class. Next year. So yeah, I'm actually working on chip scanning 102 for next year, or 201. We'll have an advanced class. Yeah, you could print that page. So yeah, any place there's an image, and I don't want to take you into that stuff. Let me see if I've got this bookmark. Chip guide. That's the real one. I'll just do this. Okay, so it's. No, I don't want to get there. Just give me a second. I actually have.
Nightclub last night. I got the one. I know that. Charles said, somebody said.
I actually have the chip guide on my laptop. I have a downloaded version of it because I didn't think I was going to have internet access here, and I don't.
He had one.
So
He had one. Well,
let me go to someplace I know I have something to show you, like the Aladdin Resort. So
maybe we'll get
this isn't working.
Yeah, I got three.
Let me show you.
Who was it? Yeah, oh, that's right. It's available.
Okay, so here's a card. I position the cursor over the card, it says enlarge picture. Boom, you get the whole side. You get the front and the back. So any place there's a picture or a chip or a Tito, if you click on it, you get to see the full size image on the chip guide. Okay? And that's like the image of the picture of the hotel.
Seaside?
Yes, sir.
Can you show us something front and back? Is that one scan?
Sweet.
No, they're separate scans. We always break them down into separate scans.
You know? Oh, let you.
And I was actually talking to members of the board of the Museum of Gaming History yesterday, saying we're going to have to move the website, do something with it in the next year, because the website host that we use has a limit of 260,000 images on it, and we're already close to that. We have 107,000 items, but each item could have a front and a back, and then we have pictures of the casinos, and then we have a few other things that we don't count in, you know, in the chip guide numbers, like people sent us pictures of all the USPC records, you know, the Crescent Seal chips. So we're up in the 240,000s right now, and sometime in the next year we'll run out of number of files we could have on the website, and we'll have to do something different.
I'll see if you have any, all the chip with the one.
No, we're using oneinone.com.